What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the channel. Today we are finally bringing you a second part to the Houston Texans rebuild here on Next Gen Madden 21. And there's a couple of things that I want to update you guys on today. This is not going to be an extremely long video, so keep that in mind. And this isn't going to have any gameplay in it, unfortunately. And I want to recap you guys as to why that is. So you guys can see that we're 2-0 through preseason. You guys can see in the top left that we've had two, fairly entertaining games within the first 2 weeks of preseason. And I want to start off by saying that I did record those two games, and I recorded a lot of highlights and things from those games, and I meant to clip those things together for you guys. And when I went back to clip it together, and I have to say, I am glad that I only did 2 weeks of preseason. When I went back to clip it together, I was having all types of audio issues where the audio was ducking in and out and things like that, and it was not going to be a watchable final product. And so I decided to scrap that completely. I'm going to give it another attempt for preseason weeks 3 and 4 to hopefully show you guys some highlights of the gameplay so far. But that's why this video is titled the way it is with the recording issues, because we've had some recording issues, and that's why up until this point this is the only second video that you're getting, and that first video was unfortunately scrapped. So, luckily it was only preseason, so not a big deal. But we will go ahead and jump into the roster and some of the stats real quick, just to recap what has happened in preseasons week 1 and 2 to give you guys an idea of who's winning in the position battles and everything like that. So like I said, quick update here for you guys. I am very disappointed that I didn't get that update for you guys. I'm really disappointed that I wasn't able to clip it together because the audio issues were so bad. But with that being said, there were a lot of really nice highlights to watch and a lot of very interesting things happening with the team so far. So at the quarterback position, you guys know that we have this battle between the rookies that we signed in Nick Biggs and Justin Walford. Walford out of Temple, more of a pocket passer, and Nick Biggs a little bit more of a mobile quarterback out of Vanderbilt. And then we also have the veteran Tyrod Taylor here competing at quarterback and, mentoring the young guys. That's kind of the goal that we had with those players. Early in preseason, in the first game, Nick Biggs threw an interception on his very first drive. And that led to us, kind of rolling with Tyrod Taylor for that game. He had a pretty good performance. He even added a rushing touchdown. And, we thought, okay, well, maybe Tyrod Taylor will be like a veteran presence and he'll take over as a starting quarterback for this team. Not necessarily the case. Nick Biggs got back into the action. We decided to bring him in around the fourth quarter. And he played lights out, and he's been playing fantastic for us so far through the preseason. He's gotten sacked a couple of times through that one interception. But Nick Biggs, I want you guys to know, has 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. And what I want you guys to look forward to whenever we get that second recap video, and I can actually give you guys some highlights and stuff once I have the audio issues figured out, is there's a bit of a quarterback competition brewing here between the veteran Tyrod Taylor and the established Nick Biggs. And so outside of that, I also want to mention that, Justin Walford has kind of played himself out of the quarterback competition at this point. You guys can see with the 58% QBR, or sorry, 50% passing accuracy. And so that's been a bit of a problem for him. But one of the most interesting things that has gone on for our team so far is the halfback battle that is going on. And much like the quarterback battle, there is a veteran in the mix with an opportunity to play here. Spencer Ware came into the game preseason week 1, I believe it was, and had an insane game, and I was not expecting it. Maybe it's because he was playing against backups for a majority of the game, but he had an absolutely monstrous game with 150-some yards rushing. He didn't have any rushing touchdowns, but he also added quite a bit in terms of receiving. He so far has 72 yards receiving and a receiving touchdown. So Spencer Ware, oddly enough, is performing really well. And I think that the performances of our young quarterbacks, as well as Tyrod Taylor, as well as the running backs here, shows that we've at least established a pretty solid offensive line. Now, I don't expect things to be as prolific whenever we get to the regular season, because we'll be facing starting units for the entirety of the game, and so Spencer Ware might not actually be quite this good, but he does have himself in the mix currently. And then the top rookie that we drafted, Kerry Crisp, has looked very good in all of his attempts. He's looked very good as a rusher as well as a receiver. 99 yards, 2 2 touchdowns. He's added some yards through the air, and he's been a very sure-handed receiver as a 72 overall player. But the one player that has stood out a lot for us, and I really wish you guys could have seen some of the highlights of him, and I'm hoping that whenever I do the second video of preseason and I can actually show you guys some highlights, that Abdul Curley, I hope you guys can see that Abdul Curley is absolutely studded. And, this guy is a 65 overall coming out of Georgia, but he plays like a monster. He breaks tackles, 3 touchdowns, 143 yards in the attempts that he has gotten. And so we have a true halfback battle brewing as well between 2 rookies as well as a veteran. And, we kind of know what we have in Spencer Ware, but I believe that we're going to be seeing a lot of Curley and Crisp late into the preseason because I really want to see what we have in these 2 players and what they can do. And then you guys can see a little bit of rushing yards added by Nick Biggs, the quarterback, and 1 rushing touchdown added by Tyrod Taylor. Alfred Morris hasn't gotten a lot of touches. He might not even stick around on the team, and we don't really plan to give him many touches. In terms of the receiving game, Jack Hayes, this guy that I mentioned in the very first video of this series, 6'5", 223 pounds, very athletic, has been a standout in preseason so far. And this has been with backups. I mean, this has been receiving passes from guys like Walford and stuff like that. He hasn't been consistently in the games or anything, but 142 yards on 6 catches. So he does have a pretty high average. But that's because he has breakaway ability. He has kind of gotten himself away from tacklers and gotten a couple of really nice touchdowns. So you guys can see his 2 touchdowns there. Spencer Ware, as I had mentioned earlier, doing really well in the passing game for us, and then tight end Kahale Warring doing pretty good. A couple of catches for guys like Braxton Berrios. The rookie Lee Arrington has a few for 53 yards. Isaiah Coulter has a couple, but not much to add in terms of anything else. Kerry Crisp has had 3 catches. A couple of them were really nice catches, sideline catches and stuff like that. One player that I do want to highlight, though, is Albert O, who we brought over. He's not a super high overall, and we don't expect him to be a blocking player or anything like that, more of a vertical threat tight end, but I want to highlight him because he has been consistently consistently getting himself penalties and putting himself in a poor situation and putting our team in a poor situation preseason. So while we expect him to maybe be the starting tight end going into the season, he has not produced catching-wise when he has been on the field. He only has 1 reception, and he's been getting penalties, whereas Kahale Warring has had 62 yards on 4 receptions, so that's another position battle to keep an eye out for, is the tight end battle that I didn't really expect there to be a competition for, but Albert O hasn't really worked himself into a position where he, has locked up that starting job. Now we move on to the blocking side of things. You guys will see that, we've had a pretty good go of it in terms of blocking. Nobody has technically given up sacks except for 1 sack given up by the 64 overall right tackle, Drew Ford. So not a whole lot to note there, except I do want to go to the injury report real quick, since this is where this pertains, and show you guys that we have 2 pretty significant injuries here on the offensive line. So Nick Martin, who probably would have been the starting center, maybe not, comes in with a torn labrum for 5 weeks. And then we also see Titus Howard, the 25-year-old right tackle, who we were really hoping could develop into a long-term starter for us, is out for 6 weeks with a foot fracture. And so that puts things a little bit more complicated across the offensive line when actually we go and take a look at the lineup real quick. That puts a 64 overall starting at right tackle, and then our rookie 71 overall is starting at center. So that does complicate things because that also takes away some of the depth that we had at offensive line, and we may have to consider just IRing, like Nick Martin, for example, and picking up a free agent. We'll see what happens with that. But let's go ahead back to the stats and round those out so you guys get a good picture. And then, like I said, be on the lookout for another episode. I apologize that, the recording issues prevented us from actually being able to do what we wanted to do with this episode, but I really think I will be able to solve those issues and get a good highlight tape basically done for preseasons week 3 and 4, and you guys can see some of those highlights. Now, in terms of the defensive side of the ball, we've had a couple of not really standout performances, but big plays from players that we expected them from. So Zach Cunningham has been very good for us at middle linebacker, and that's no surprise. He's pretty much locked in there as a top-end starter for our defense. Sacks-wise, though, we've gotten a sack from Tavares Blackburn, who has made a couple couple of big plays, even batting balls down and stuff like that. Left outside linebacker out of Cincinnati, 67 overall, athletic guy, but not like a fantastic player or anything. And then JoJo Stanton, the other left outside linebacker, he also made a play. He got a sack, and to be quite honest with you, we haven't gotten as much pressure from that rookie defensive line that we expected to. So we're going to be looking to develop them. You know, they are all young and trying to develop together. We did get interceptions from Justin Reed, Javelin Guidry, and Lamichael Scandrick. Now, Lamichael Scandrick is a player, you know, I just want to pause right there and say Justin Reed is playing out of his mind in preseason, and that is no surprise. I expect that to continue for the length of this franchise because this guy is a cornerstone of the defensive, you know, build for the Houston Texans. But back to Lamichael Scandrick, this rookie strong safety has been making quite a lot of plays at strong safety, and there's nothing, you know, incredibly special about Lamichael Scandrick, but I may play him as like a box linebacker or you know, bring him down as a box safety, whatever. I want to try to get him involved because he has been making a lot of plays and he could potentially be a really good player for us. Aside from that, on the defensive side of the ball, there's really not a lot to talk about. I think we might have had one touchdown. Yeah, Justin Reed got a touchdown on his interception. And then outside of that, that's where we are in terms of our position battles. Like I said, there were some really nice highlights. I really wish that I could have put that together for you guys, but I'm going to try to get those audio issues resolved for the next episode. I just wanted to do a quick one here to update you guys on the first two preseason games to let you guys know that I hadn't completely forgot about this franchise. You know, I've just been having those recording issues. So with that being said, if you guys want to see this franchise continue, I know that it got a lot of support on the first video, and I apologize for the second video taking so long to come out. Make sure you guys leave a like on the video, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, do all that great stuff. We're really close to 6,000 subscribers, and I can't thank you guys enough for helping me to build this community around this channel. Hopefully we can continue to grow and spread our Madden knowledge to all those out there that could use the knowledge that we like to spread around and help each other out with. So without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope you guys have a good night.